Meeting setting companies, SEO strategies. Why SEO matters for meeting setting companies right now. If you run a meeting setting company, an SDR agency, or any kind of sales outsourcing team, outbound is usually your default growth lever. Cold calling services, a cold email agency style motion, LinkedIn touches, and tight follow-up can absolutely produce meetings fast. The issue is that outbound alone becomes an expensive treadmill as lists saturate and attention gets harder to earn. At the same time, buyers are increasingly starting their vendor research in search. About 71% of B2B buyers begin with a generic search query, and B2B sites get roughly 62% of their traffic from organic search. If you're not visible for the core terms your market uses, you're not losing rankings. You're missing the first conversation altogether. Organic search also maps to revenue outcomes, not just awareness. Across B2B marketers, organic search is credited with around 53% of inbound leads and 44.6% of revenue. For a B2B sales agency selling meetings, that's a clear signal. SEO should be treated as a pipeline channel designed to produce booked appointments, not a marketing nice-to-have. How buyers search and why rankings translate into booked meetings. Most prospects don't search for your brand name when pipeline is slipping. They search for the category and the outcome. B2B appointment setting services, SDR outsourcing, cold calling agency, or outsource sales team for SaaS. Your SEO strategy wins when it aligns with those real queries and matches the buyer's intent at each stage of evaluation. Content depth matters because buyers self-educate before they ever raise a hand. Around 60% of B2B decision makers read at least 3 pieces of vendor content before contacting sales, which means one service page and a contact form won't cut it. Your site needs a small library that answers pricing questions, addresses objections, and proves you can deliver meetings without damaging reputation. Rank position is a force multiplier, especially on high-intent terms where traffic is already qualified. The estimated CTR for Google Position 1 is about 28.5% versus 11.6% at Position 3. So moving up a couple spots can nearly triple clicks on your money keywords. And because SEO can generate roughly 14 times more leads than traditional outbound efforts, it's best viewed as a compounding complement to cold calling companies, not a replacement for your outbound sales agency motion. Build keyword clusters that match intent, not vanity volume. The fastest SEO wins for appointment-setting firms come from tightly focused intent clusters, not random blog posts. Pick 3 to 5 core clusters that map directly to revenue, such as B2B appointment-setting services, outsourced sales development, hire SDRs, and cold calling services, plus industry variants like SaaS, fintech, healthcare, or manufacturing. Then build a pillar page for each and support it with closely related content that links back to that core page. This is where many teams waste months. They chase broad terms like lead generation or sales outsourcing because the search volume looks appealing. Those terms are brutal to rank for, and they often attract unfocused traffic that isn't actively looking for pay-per-meeting lead generation or an outsourced SDR team. Long-tail, intent-rich phrases may be smaller, but they're where prospects are essentially telling you, "I'm shopping." We also recommend letting frontline SDRs and AEs dictate the content roadmap. If prospects keep asking, outsourced SDR cost versus in-house, cold calling USA coverage, or what does pay-per-appointment lead generation actually include, those questions belong in search-optimized pages. When your SEO targets the same objections that show up in calls, it becomes a direct sales enablement asset, not just website traffic. Turn service pages into conversion-first SEO landing pages. For meeting-setting companies, your highest intent pages should behave like landing pages built for one outcome: a booked meeting. That means clear positioning, proof above the fold, and a frictionless path to schedule time. For example, embedding a meeting scheduler so prospects can book without emailing back and forth. Treat every SDR outsourcing or cold call services page like it's part of your revenue engine, because it is. Technical basics still matter, and they're often the difference between we publish content and we rank. Site speed, mobile readability, clean internal links, and a crawlable structure are table stakes for competitive terms like cold calling agency or outbound sales agency. Adding service and review schema can also help search engines understand what you do and why you're credible, which is important in a trust-heavy category like telemarketing or telesales. Credibility signals should be explicit, because buyers have heard horror stories about low-quality cold callers and burned domains. Case studies, quantified outcomes, reviews, and transparent process details reduce perceived risk and increase conversion rate from the same traffic. At SalesHive, we've booked over 117,000 meetings for more than 1,500 clients, and we've learned that proof and specificity outperform vague, "we drive growth" claims every time. SEO only becomes a growth channel when every page is built to earn trust, answer objections, and make booking a meeting the obvious next step. Create content that moves deals forward and powers outbound follow-up. A practical content strategy for an appointment-setting agency isn't thought leadership, it's deal support. Build pages that answer evaluation questions, pricing ranges, outsourced SDR team structure, how deliverability is protected, what a cold calling team actually does, and what results look like by vertical. When prospects find these answers on your site, you reduce back and forth and increase the odds they book time. Consistency beats volume, but the cadence has to be real. Publishing 2 to 4 keyword-driven articles per month is usually enough to build topical authority when those posts are tightly tied to your pillar pages and written to satisfy intent. Each piece should have a conversion job, even if the CTA is simply "see a relevant case study" or "compare outsourced versus in-house SDRs." The biggest unlock is integrating SEO content into your sales development motion. Your SDRs should use these assets as follow-ups in cold email sequences, post-call recaps, and LinkedIn outreach services, turning a cold thread into a consultative conversation. When a prospect receives an objection handling guide from your B2B cold calling services team, it feels less like a pitch and more like expertise, while still pushing toward the meeting. Earn authority in a trust-heavy category with proof and third-party signals. Appointment setting is trust-heavy, so authority building can't be an afterthought. Detailed SEO-optimized case studies are your best borrowed credibility asset because they show the ICP, the outreach approach, and the meeting outcomes in a way that feels verifiable. Pair that with third-party profiles and reviews on platforms like Clutch and G2 to add neutral validation that reassures buyers who are wary of sales outsourcing. Many agencies publish generic blogs that never rank, then assume SEO doesn't work for a sales agency or cold calling company. The reality is that about 90% of online B2B content gets zero organic traffic, largely because it isn't mapped to a keyword strategy or link plan. If you want results, create linkable assets that other sites naturally reference, benchmarks, playbooks, and original data from your own pipeline. Backlinks don't have to be exotic to be effective. Foundational links from directories, partners, podcasts, and guest contributions can move the needle when they point to your core B2B appointment setting services or SDR outsourcing pages. The goal isn't chasing hundreds of links. It's building enough credible signals that Google and buyers both see you as a safe choice. Measure SEO like a sales channel: meetings, opportunity rate, and pipeline. If you only report on sessions, impressions, and rankings, you will underinvest in the pages that actually create revenue. Meeting-setting companies should tie SEO into the same funnel math used for outbound: cost per meeting, meeting to opportunity rate, and pipeline created per channel. That means every form fill and booked call should be attributed to an original source and landing page inside your CRM. Operationally, connect analytics, your meeting tool, and your CRM so attribution survives handoffs. When an inbound lead books a call from an outsourced sales team pricing page, that context should follow the record into pipeline and reporting dashboards. Once you can see which pages generate sequels, not just clicks, you can prioritize refreshes, internal links, and conversion improvements where the money is. Next steps: a realistic timeline and what to focus on first. SEO isn't instant, but it's predictable if you do the fundamentals well. For most meeting setting and SDR outsourcing firms, you can see meaningful movement in impressions and rankings in about 3 to 4 months on properly optimized pages, with more consistent meeting volume often following in the 6 to 9 month range. Competition, domain authority, and publishing cadence will change the exact slope, but the compounding effect is why SEO is worth building. AI search is growing, but classic search behavior still dominates how buyers discover vendors. Traditional search engines still handle over 94% of desktop searches, and 99% of users who try generative AI still rely on Google as well. The takeaway is straightforward. Optimizing for clear commercial intent in Google still feeds your pipeline, and it increasingly influences what AI tools cite and summarize. If you're deciding what to do this quarter, start with the pages closest to revenue. Rebuild your pillar service pages, publish supporting objection handling content, and wire up attribution so you can measure meetings and pipeline from day one. Then use outbound to stabilize volume while inbound compounds. That's where we see the best blended cost per meeting. At SalesHive, we live in that overlap, running high output outbound while teams invest in sustainable inbound demand, because the strongest growth engines rarely depend on a single channel.